Hey team, Andre from High Performance Academy here. Welcome along to another one of our webinars. A bit of a catch up on what's been going on around here over the last little while. If you've been following us, you may have noticed that we have recently released a 3D modeling and CAD course. Connor, our newest recruit, or one of our newer recruits, is a 3D modeling and CAD specialist with a love for motorsport. So he's been driving that course. It's been out for a couple of months now, and it has been getting some really good comments and feedback from our members who have grabbed it. Now, just in terms of 3D modeling, there is a lot that goes into this, and the technology is becoming more available, more affordable, and we are continuing to develop this course further. So I jump across to my laptop screen, and I just wanted to just show one of the elements that comes into this. Absolutely isn't essential, but here Connor is just using our latest purchase, which is a Peel 3D scanner. This is probably at the lower end of the 3D scanning range. However, for anyone who has got a reasonably modern phone that uses face recognition like an iPhone, these basically can be used for 3D scanning as well. Obviously, the results are not going to be as precise as the more expensive versions like the Peel 3D. They obviously step up from there. You could spend $100,000 on a scanner if you want really high precision. But depending on the precision you need to work with and what you're trying to design, for a lot of instances, your phone and a simple app is absolutely fine. Here, what Connor's doing is scanning the front of our K20 engine and gearbox here on our EF CRX. And what he's done here is imported that. I know it's not really that pretty as it sits, but what this is going to allow is Brandon is designing a front engine mount, or engine/gearbox mount. We have had some problems with subframe reliability on this vehicle as we purchased it. It only had one rear mount, and obviously there's a lot of sort of torque response when the engine is going through a gear change, or the gearbox is going through a gear change when the driver's on and off the brakes. And what we wanted to do is just support that a little bit better. So this is just one of the uses of 3D scanning, and it is, as I mentioned, a technology that is becoming increasingly affordable and increasingly accessible to those who are interested in 3D modeling. Just give me 1 second here. We'll just get back across to my notes. And I just wanted to quickly show you as well that course if you are interested. So head across to my laptop screen again. The course is $199 US. You can find it at hpacademy.com/courses. I will just quickly show you the course curriculum so you've got a bit of an idea of what goes on here. So cover the basics of CAD, what CAD is, what you're actually going to need. Now, in the days gone by, it was quite expensive to get into 3D modeling. These days, particularly for personal private use, Fusion 360 is essentially free. So the barrier to entry is really low. Talk about design fundamentals as well. It's really important when you are designing a component, particularly if it's going to be a stressed component, maybe suspension or in the likes of that gearbox mount there, something that is going to be under some stress, to understand those stresses and understand the sort of materials that you're going to need to work with, sizes, wall thicknesses, etc., so that you're actually designing something that's safe. Now, this doesn't require a mechanical engineering degree, but we do go into some detail about what you need to understand and what considerations you should be keeping in mind to make sure that you are designing a component that's actually fit for task. Go into solid modeling basics, and I will mention that the fundamentals of this course really is founded around the Fusion 360 package, just because it is so accessible, being that it's free for personal use. However, if you are using SolidWorks or Inventor, then what we do find is that the process of 3D modeling is, for all intents and purposes, identical across the different platforms. Slight subtle differences with the user interface, but essentially if you can use Fusion 360, you will be able to apply that to other platforms. Because we've had queries about SolidWorks, we are going to be incorporating SolidWorks worked examples in the not too distant future. We also cover sheet metal modeling basics. graphics. This is becoming really powerful, a really powerful element of the likes of Fusion 360, where you can design a sheet metal component, send your file off as a DXF to the likes of maybe Send Cut Send if you're in the US, and a few days later, maybe a week later, maybe a bit longer, I'm not actually too sure, the parts will turn up nicely laser cut and basically ready to fold up, or you can have them fold them yourself. It's allowing people as home enthusiasts to produce parts at a much higher quality, much higher level for a really minimal outlay, and often much faster than fabricating these parts completely by hand. Connor also covers assemblies, some of the analysis techniques as well, some of the analysis tools, some of the post-processing as well that is required. And then we get into some of the advanced CAD modeling, such as finite element analysis, so that you can actually run an analysis on your part and input the stresses that it's going to be exposed to and see how it's going to stand up. Generative design, automated modeling, and some of the computer-aided manufacturing technology. 3D scanning and printing is included. Then we've got a simple 5-step process that you can apply to modeling your own parts. As usual, we do also include a library of worked examples. The course is pretty new, so we've got one in there at the moment, but Connor is in the last stages of designing and building a billet rocker cover for our Nissan SR20 and our Toyota 86. That's going to be added in, and we've got a few more projects in the works as well. So remember, if you are interested in that, you can find that at hpaacademy.com/courses. Like all of our courses, zero risk purchasing, 60 days, no questions asked, money back guarantee. So if you purchase and decide it's not quite what you expected, no worries, let us know and we'll give you a full refund of the purchase price. Just to get up to speed with some of the updates that we've got on our social media channels, just if we head across to our YouTube channel. This is an interview I did with Josh from Driver Motorsports when we were at SEMA last year. So we're starting to trickle out some of those SEMA interviews from November last year. This was a real standout for me. I have always been a Nissan GTR fanatic, and I'm talking the R32, R33, R34. That was the Japanese domestic market models, not the R35 that are the sort of current crop. But I've still got a soft spot, even though technology has moved on, for the RB26. It's an interesting engine because really when we get down into the weeds with it, it's actually quite a flawed design. Despite that, there's still a massive following for this engine, but it is an engine that requires a little bit of knowledge in order to fix the potential pitfalls and downsides with the engine if you want to make one that is going to be strong, powerful, and most importantly, reliable. Also in this interview, we go into the fabrication on this particular vehicle, which is pretty insane. So if you want to find out more about that, head across to our YouTube channel. Subscribe if you haven't. If you like what you're seeing, we'd love it if you could give us a thumbs up. And if you've got any questions on any of our videos, please ask in the comments. We're super active. We try to get back and answer every question that gets asked. Now, also, if we head across to our Instagram, this is a post about an interview that I did recently on our Tuned In podcast, the HPA Tuned In podcast with Sam Dobry from Dobry Designs. This is an area of motorsport that I have had little to no experience with personally, but this is off-road racing, particularly or specifically here, King of the Hammers. And this is probably, I'd say, arguably the most extreme form of motorsport anywhere in the world. So this is a combination of high-speed desert racing, and think here the likes of Baja 1000, so really high speed, running through massive hits out there in the desert at 100 plus miles an hour. So the cars or trucks have to be built to support that sort of a hammering. But at the same time, there is also a rock crawling section to the competition, which is completely the opposite, relatively low speed, trying to get over or around boulders or rocks, basically the size of a school bus or thereabouts. So a really unique form of motorsport. We dive into the design principles behind these vehicles, why Sam is favoring the independent front suspension rather than a live axle approach, some of the considerations around designing in the strength to the components. And if we actually scroll back here, this is a really classic example here. This is a fabricated arm, and quite often we see these components being made out of billet alloy instead of being fabricated. We're talking to Sam about pros and cons of those two different construction techniques, why he still favors in a lot of cases making these out of a fabricated component. Also talk about finite element stress analysis and how he can be sure that these components will live out in that really nasty competition scene. Another really interesting element that came out of this chat with Sam was his take on oil pressure and oil viscosity. He's got some really unique views here, which will probably go against the grain of what a lot of you think we need in terms of what is a safe oil pressure. So check that interview out. You can find it anywhere you currently listen to podcasts. Search for HPA Tuned In or go to hpatunedin.com and you can check that podcast out. We've got about 80 odd episodes now and some really great interviews. If you like what you're listening to, we would also really appreciate it if you could leave us a rating and a review. These really help us to get more exposure for this podcast, and the more exposure we get, the more access to high quality guests like Sam we're going to get. So everyone benefits. As a bonus, anyone who leaves us a podcast, we will be picking one random reviewer every week, and we will be sending them out a free HPA t-shirt, just like the one I'm wearing here. And we'll send that out free of charge anywhere in the world.
If you like that video, make sure you give it a thumbs up, and if you're not already a subscriber, make sure you're subscribed. We release a new video every week. And if you like free stuff, we've got a great deal for you. Click the link in the description to claim your free spot to our next live lesson.